Find out about podcasting, about Bitcoin, and entrepreneurship opportunities today as I talk with Ashe Whitener of Liberty Entrepreneurs. Podcasting has taken off in a big way. You know, we've been talking about it for a while here, and I've been using it. You know me, I'm an old radio guy, and I love it. And it's doing some amazing things right now. And to let you see right now, cutting edge, what's going on, I've got my buddy Ashe Whitener joining us right now. He is joining us from up there at Podcast Movement 2016 in Chicago, live and direct. Ashe, good to have you with us today.
Hey, Terry. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, Ashe is a person who is an entrepreneur. Matter of fact, he has his podcast, and I'm going to let him tell us a little bit about that and a little bit of his background as well as being an engineer. This guy is good. Ashe, tell us a little bit about your background and your podcast, particularly Liberty Entrepreneurs.
Thanks, Terry. Yeah, so my background is in engineering. I graduated with 2 bachelor's degrees in electrical and computer engineering. And I worked in that field for a long time. You know, the desk job, the 9 to 6 type job with an hour at lunch to take and go out. But, you know, it just became unfulfilling for me. And so in 2012, I had an opportunity to quit my job, sell all of my stuff, and say goodbye to my friends and family. And I actually moved from my comfortable position in Raleigh, North Carolina, down to Barbados and St. Vincent to help Peter Schiff start Euro Pacific Bank. And it was the best move that I've made in my life. And it got me really invigorated and interested in entrepreneurship. Now, I don't own the bank, but I was the first employee that they had for the bank. A private banker employee, that is. And I was told from the very beginning to think about my position at the bank as if it's my own little company. I'm running my own little business within Euro Pacific Bank. And, you know, being in offshore banking and investment, there's a ton of avenues that you can take. You know, do you want to try to sell gold and silver? Help people get into the permanent certificate program. Maybe you're going to make your money having corporate banking clients or people opening up offshore brokerage accounts. So there were a lot of avenues for me to take. And it really got me thinking, all I control is my time and my focus. And so that really helped me get into the idea of becoming an entrepreneur.
Excellent. Well, and you've done very well with that. Matter of fact, I was honored to be a guest on your podcast. So nice that we can turn the tables here and you're helping me out because you've got a lot of information. What I want to do is kind of start from the 35,000-foot point of view and get your take on what's happening with podcasts today and how are thought leaders and entrepreneurs, speakers, authors, and others that you see using podcasts to generate more business.
So podcasting is a huge fad right now. It's really coming into its own. And the reason is because it's on demand, it's niche, and it's highly focused. So I'm at the podcast conference here in Chicago, Illinois, and I just listened to a guy that has a podcast on some really certain type of disease that he has. And he decided, you know, he was looking online for information and he just couldn't find any information about it. So he decided to create a podcast. Now, all of a sudden there's hundreds of people reaching out to him every single week, thanking him for this podcast because it's so niche and on demand. I'm also seeing this with my podcast, Liberty Entrepreneurs. You know, back about a year ago, I started Liberty Entrepreneurs because I was starting to get fed up with the negativity I felt in myself regarding, you know, the amount of freedom that I did not have, or how the government's boot was always on my throat, or, you know, I had this very, you know, negative type of outlook onto the world where I wanted to build a little shack in the woods and disappear so that I could be free. Well, that didn't sound like freedom to me. So through my entrepreneurial experiences, moving to the Caribbean, starting a bank, I found that the majority of freedom comes in your own personal life. It's not given to you by some government. You don't need to fight the government to get it back necessarily. Build the freedom, build the life that you want. Now, coming back to podcasting, it's very on demand and niche. So I'm getting different types of alternative news sources reaching out to me because news sources now want to not only have blogs as their, you know, on their website to deliver their news, they also want podcasts. Since a lot of podcasts can be timeless and they're on demand. And it's something different. You know, we're really changing the landscape of news. Terry, I mean, you know, radio's been around for a long time, but radio's never been on demand. Then we got things like satellite radio and now podcasts that are more on demand. It's just a natural progression of how people get their content.
Yeah, absolutely. I love their podcast. The whole concept is instead of it's all general news, it's really specific, tight niche. Like you mentioned, someone with a certain specific ailment. For me, I'd say, gee, I don't have that. Don't watch it. But if I did, oh, man, I want to get on that. And I think what you're doing, particularly Liberty Entrepreneurs, which, by the way, those of you watching this, that is one of the podcasts I make as a must listen to. It's
Thank
on
you.
my phone. I'm listening to it regularly. You just had an interview with a mutual friend of both of us, Jeffrey Tucker, who had just
That's right.
brilliant insights that I'm not going to get on the regular radio station.
Yeah.
There's a place, I guess, for listening to music, but the way that you do it is really helpful. Let me ask you this. You're there at the Podcast Movement Convention. You're seeing a lot of people, and you also interface with a lot of them. What kinds of podcasts have you seen particularly that are working? What traits and what tips and pointers do you see that work well today in today's market for those who are using podcasting?
Yeah, so there's a couple themes that I'm noticing. Entrepreneurship and business, of course, is a big one of those themes. Like we talked about, Terry, whenever you came on my show, the entrepreneur is the new jock, right? Jocks used to be cool. Maybe they still are. I don't know. But there's only so long someone can be a jock, but you can be an entrepreneur your entire life. And entrepreneurs are seen as the men and women who are building and creating and, employing people, right? Creating new services and products. So there's always a lot of good, positive, creative energy that comes along with the business or specifically the entrepreneurial type of interviews. Other types of podcasts I'm finding that are very popular are health, both physical health and mental health. So personal development and stuff like that.
What about like fitness and weight loss, things like that?
Absolutely. Fitness, physical development, mental development. There's a ton of people, the fitness industry is enormous. We see all the types of vitamins and, people are very curious about fitness. It just happens to be they don't want to do a whole lot of the work.
I think that's interesting.
I find that as well. I've been keeping up with your 22 for 22, Terry. You're in great shape.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, it's a fun thing to do. And on the health side, also in the fitness, Gina, my partner, is doing some work now with health and a vegan lifestyle and foods and things like that. And I think there's a different niche. So those of you that are watching this, think about it. There might be 100 bazillion podcasts out there. Ash, I think that is the exact number, right? 100 bazillion?
That is accurate.
Yeah, 100 bazillion and more every day. And you might think like I did, like, oh my goodness, I can't stand out of that market. But you find your niche. You get rich in your niche, as they say, and you find the thing that's there that's particularly working well. At least that's what I've seen. Ash, how about you?
Yeah, if you have knowledge in something and you're passionate about something, go online and search for a podcast about it. If there's not one, then you need to create one because, people need to hear your perspective. If you're passionate about it, then people are going to receive that passion. They're going to hear that passion. For me, while there were other entrepreneurial types of podcasts, I didn't see one that was specifically centered around liberty and liberty entrepreneurship. I come from the liberty movement. I've made more Ron Paul signs than you can shake a stick at. I went and marched on DC for the Ron Paul parade. I helped fund the Ron Paul blimp. And these are all things like I have such deep roots in the liberty movement. I want them to start concentrating on entrepreneurship more and more. And I think we're going to see that, but I just didn't see that in the marketplace. We've got Entrepreneur on Fire and a couple other podcasts that help people learn how to build online businesses, but mine isn't specifically about that. It's about how to help you create a lifestyle of freedom and flexibility individually.
Yeah, and that's the thing I like about it. I think it resonates with me, and I know there's a lot of people that will. And so from those of you watching this, that's important. Think about what you resound with, something that really stirs your soul, you're passionate about, but you're also knowledgeable about it, and there's a market for it. You want to make sure all those kind of come together on the Venn diagram, that you've got all of them working together.
There's another topic here that has really caught my attention. I came into the podcasting world without having another business to sell. I became a podcaster. But what I'm noticing is other people are adding podcasts to their social media and to their content creation in addition, because it's such a good intimate way to connect with people. When people hear your voice, or like you do Blab or Periscope or some live video, and you start answering things live, this is really building trust and credibility, right, and respect for you. So a lot of people are starting to use podcasting to help amplify their ability to connect with their audience, since it is so much more an intimate conversation, at least it can be. There are people that will listen, and myself included, there are people that listen to podcasts and they listen to certain topics that they're passionate or interested about, and they think man, this was made for me. This person really gets me, right? It's just a one-way conversation for the most part. It's not like you're able to talk back to the podcaster. You're just listening and getting this content, but you can really connect to it, and people start believing that you're friends and that you know each other, and this is the type of intimacy that podcasting can create for you and your business.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the beauties I've seen of radio, and having a background in radio, that was part of my undergrad degree. And I see the intimacy that grows. I've been on the radio in different markets, and did it in high school and then undergrad school. And I find that people start seeing you and they think about who you are, and they start getting in their mind what it's like. Of course, today they can usually see very quickly, because like what we're doing right now, just from a technical point of view, we're recording this now in Zoom. When we finish, we will have an MP4 video of it, as well as an M4A audio. And those of you watching this, think about that. I will have that, and then Ashe will also have one. It's a good backup. It's a marvelous little tool, and all we did was click a button. It's really nice. It's so much better today than it was. And by the way, while we're talking about the technology, Ashe, you're on the road right now. You're out there in Chicago, and you're using a microphone. If you don't mind, since we're talking about podcasting and broadcast stuff, would you mind sharing with us what technology you're using right now and how it's working for you?
Yeah, so this is a very affordable microphone. It's the Audio Technica ATR 2100. It's a USB microphone. This is my go-to microphone for when I'm traveling. I also have the Blue Yeti mic that you have right there, Terry, but it's a little bit more
right here.
I do have a new gadget to share with everyone, which I bought just.
Oh, I like it. A new gadget. Woohoo! You got my heart racing faster now.
A new gadget. This is the H4n, the Zoom H4n mobile recorder. It is unbelievable. It's got the two speakers, stereo up top, that you can use just right here if you're interviewing someone, or you can hook up a professional mic like this one into the bottom of it. Actually, two of them. I'm not sure if you can see that.
I can't see that. Does it have XLR input?
It does. It has two XLR cables, so you can record stereo, and it's just a really nice. It's about $250, and it's an absolute steal. I don't have any affiliation to it, but I highly recommend it.
I've used Zoom equipment before, and it's been always real good. Go-to equipment, rock solid, particularly when you're out there on the road. So for those of you that are on the road, maybe you're moving around, this can be really helpful.
Yep. And for anyone looking to start a podcast, it can be pretty daunting. And I didn't have a launch strategy like I know about now. I wish that I would have taken a little bit more time to plan a launch strategy. I was just so passionate and excited that I wanted to jump out there and get my voice and my perspective out. But anyone that's interested in starting a podcast, if you go to entrepreneuronfire.com or eofire.com, they have a free course to help you understand what it takes to successfully launch a podcast. And I highly recommend it. There can't be enough podcasts.
Yeah, that's really, really important out there. And matter of fact, interesting as you say, I'm using my microphone. I've got another one here. This is a good old rock solid Shure 58. I've been using this, or SM58. Very nice one. Been using that. And just today, matter of fact, I got a new cable. Look at this. You're going to love this. It's an XLR cable that I can use with that microphone. And then this end plugs into my iPhone, and this then takes the earbud from the iPhone. Had them specially construct this at Microphone Madness, available at microphonemadness.com. Shameless plug for them. And they designed this specially. We had to go through a few iterations to get it, but now it works. I can plug that in. I can listen to it. And for just plugging this in real quickly into my mic here, I'm on the road or at home and able to do it. Matter of fact, some of you mentioned the 22 push-ups. I've been using this microphone and this cable for Microphone Madness. Did I mention microphonemadness.com? And they take care of it. Works really well. So there's a lot of good options with that. Now, another thing I want to ask you before we conclude this, Ashe, I see you've got a button on there. It's with a B that looks like Bitcoin. Tell us a little bit about, for those that might not know what Bitcoin is, and the opportunities for entrepreneurs using Bitcoin.
It's one of the most amazing technologies to come into existence in the past decade. It is unbelievable. Basically, Bitcoin is a decentralized digital currency that has no ruler. There are no central banks or politicians that can manipulate its money supply or tell you that you can't use it. And for entrepreneurs, a lot of entrepreneurs are in the digital space now. We're creating online businesses because it's become so cumbersome to create a physical business. There's all sorts of reporting requirements and overhead and staff. Whereas if you create an online business, You don't have a lot of that. And so what Bitcoin is really made for is it's a native internet currency. You don't have to worry about the banking system. You don't have to worry about, access to different currencies. Maybe you don't have euros or you don't have dollars. Bitcoin is just like email was made for the internet. Bitcoin is a currency that's made for the internet. I like to use the analogy. Think of paper money or government money, US dollars and such, as the old post office, and think of Bitcoin as email. And that shows you what type of advantages you're going to get with it. But as far as a tool, it requires a lot less overhead and restrictions and speed bumps along. And you can start, I'm going to release an interview with guys from leet.gg. Basically, they are a online gaming competition platform where you can challenge your friends in different games like Call of Duty or stuff like this and bet Bitcoin. Whereas the restrictions to bet US dollars would be so cumbersome that they wouldn't have been able to get off the ground. But since Bitcoin is very fast, very convenient, and very secure, then they were able to build a business on top of Bitcoin payments, whereas maybe they wouldn't have succeeded if they had to wait around to get approval for dollars.
Yeah, much faster. I like your analogy. I think that's appropriate. The post office and the speed that they have, yeah,
Right.
versus using email, and it's very fast. I've used Bitcoin a little bit, getting started with it myself, just to see what it's like, and love it. And I think there's a lot. What would someone do if they say, "Yeah, I'm interested in this Bitcoin. I want to learn more about Bitcoin itself"? What would you recommend for them?
The best place to go, I would say, is bitcoin.com. It's run by my good friend Roger Veer.
Wonderful guy.
A lot of information on that site. They've got a forum over there. Otherwise, go to reddit.com/r/BTC, which is much more unbiased, and it's a really good social area for you to learn about Bitcoin, ask questions about Bitcoin. Other than that, the people that I like to listen to are Andreas Antonopoulos, who's a brilliant speaker in the Bitcoin space, and my other favorite guy is the one, the only, the Eric Voorhees. He's very well spoken, very educated. He breaks it down, complex ideas in very simple layman's terms. If you're not paying attention to Bitcoin now, the early adopter phase is over already. Now we're tending towards the growth phase. You definitely want to get in. It's like the internet in 1997 or 1998 right now in terms of Bitcoin's popularity and growth and influence. So take a look at Bitcoin. You see things in like Buenos Aires, Argentina. I have several friends in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Diego and Gabriela, if you guys are watching, hello. Uber basically got ruled out, legislated out, because the government of Buenos Aires stopped allowing Uber to take credit card processing. And so what Uber started to do, this is just fresh news just today, Uber started to accept Bitcoin payments and through different types of Bitcoin credit cards and such, so they could continue to do business in Buenos Aires, even though the government got lobbied by the cab industry to shut down Visa and MasterCard payments to Uber. So it's a technology that's allowing entrepreneurs to just jump so far ahead and please so many people that it's not going away. It's going to be here forever. We live in the age of digital currencies now.
Yeah, that's amazing. I didn't know that had happened today. When you think about it, the ramifications, okay, they've done that there. They're going to test it and they'll see how it goes, and it'll probably go really well as it does, and they tweak and adjust. Do you think it could be used in other countries? Yeah.
Yeah. What's interesting is what's going to happen, with the UK leaving Europe now. Let's see what happens with the currency markets. I mean, we've seen such fluctuations in the currency markets. I'm just waiting on someone to either use Bitcoin or used a blockchain-based cryptocurrency to back their currency, now their national currency, either that or gold or something like that. But the transparency and accountability of a crypto-based currency is unparalleled. We're going to see just tremendous currency fluctuations in the coming years, especially if more countries start pulling out of the EU. It's going to be a great warm test bed for Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think we're going to see it in many different areas because we're seeing a real change in many parts of the world. We look around, we see it, and people can get scared because it can be kind of scary to see change. But the good side is there's a whole lot going on and a lot of opportunities with Bitcoin, with podcasting, with many other tools that are out there that we didn't have before. I mean, think about what we're doing right now. Those of you who are watching this, here we are. We're two guys. We're putting together a video and audio that is comparable to or better quality than what they had on the most expensive national television networks or radio stations. Ashe is there visiting Chicago, just setting up there. I'm here at home in Orlando. We get crystal clear communication. We record record it in high definition audio and video. We can exchange payments back and forth via Bitcoin. We could do it instantly like that with very little, if any, transaction charge. Ash, I think it's a pretty nice time to be alive today. What do you think?
Unbelievable time to be alive. I mean, look at the technological advances we've been seeing. I was just talking to my brother yesterday. 7 years ago, I bought my first HD camera. You know, it was a fairly big camera by Panasonic. I took it to Honduras with me because the year before I wasn't happy with the quality of my pictures. And it was one of the first like publicly consumable cameras that were, you know, it was like $350 or something back then, but for like normal people to start buying. That was 7 years ago, Terry. I had to go out and did hours of research online to find a camera that could do HD video for me. And now every person with a smartphone does HD video.
Yeah, exactly. We've got that. And also, I just went out just a little while ago and got this one right here, a very tiny little Panasonic. And it's got the viewfinder on there. We've seen this kind of thing before many times. The nice thing about this one, though, it is also 4K.
Unbelievable.
So I'm getting that high resolution, and I'm sitting here in Orlando. We're about 1 mile from, a little over 1 mile from the Orlando Eye. It's the world's largest Ferris wheel. When we go out on our balcony, we can see it from there. I use this, and I can zoom in on it and read the letters on the side of the cabs.
It's crazy.
That are in there. You think, the letters on there 1 mile away, and this is just a regular consumer recorder, and I got with it the Rode microphone. This is a nice little tool right here, so I can use it for shotgun when I'm in a situation where, as a journalist, I'm listening to a news conference. I want to get the person up there. I can just zoom in on them and get pretty good quality with a small, inexpensive microphone.
Things just keep getting better, and they keep getting cheaper. And, you know, let's just be thankful that the government has decided not to overregulate the technology space like it has all the other spaces in life, because this is the space that is really helping entrepreneurs like you and I have access to the tools that we can create to use to create and continue building. Because what does an entrepreneur do? Well, they look out into society and they try to find pains or problems that they can solve. And that's what an entrepreneur is. I love, in my interview with Jeffrey Tucker, we talk about the differences between entrepreneur and the capitalist. You know, the entrepreneur is looking to solve problems at his or her very essence. And it's just so beautiful when we have these tools that continue to get better and cheaper at our disposal.
Yeah, absolutely. It's getting better there. I think of Charles Dickens when he said it was the best of times and the worst of times. And I think that's kind of where we've been throughout history in many ways. And I think today for sure. And so we can look at it on both sides. But there's a lot of optimism. And matter of fact, Ash, you've got a lot of good activities, a lot of ways that you're helping people out in many different areas. If someone says, hey, I want to get to know this guy a little bit better, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you, as well as want to know about the Liberty Entrepreneur Podcast? And please spell that for those that might be listening on audio and maybe not Native American speakers. Please let us know how we can reach you.
Sure. So the best way to reach me, you can tweet at me at Liberty E Podcast. I'm active on Twitter. I post every day. Or you can find me at facebook.com/Liberty Entrepreneurs, which entrepreneur wasn't such a difficult word to spell, and we sure didn't learn how to spell it in public school. But it's ENTREPRENEURS. And the easy way to remember how to spell entrepreneur, Terry, is it ends in URS because you're the entrepreneur. So it's all E's up into the very end, ENTREPRENEURS, libertyentrepreneurs.com. Find us on Facebook. You know, we release podcasts every single week. We just released one of our best and most popular podcasts to date with Jeffrey Tucker. To keep up with us, you can subscribe to our email list, and I'll send you a newsletter every Monday that has the latest podcast. Check us out. We're doing big things, and we're definitely trying to change the perspective on how to build freedom.
Our guest has been Ashe Whitener. He is a genius, an entrepreneur. He's a person that uses Bitcoin, lots of other technologies, and he's a person you want to get to know. You want to go over to his website, to Liberty Entrepreneurs. I listen to that podcast myself. It is a must listen to. Whenever they come out with a new episode, I'm on it right away. On my treadmill, putting my headphones on, I'm going at it, or knocking around here, getting work done. And if you're not listening to podcasts, open that world up. There's a lot of good learning, a lot of good ideas and inspiration and motivation that you can get from all the way around. So we will look forward to hearing from you. Please leave a comment below. Let us know what's going on. Go on out Facebook and tell us about that. Ashe Whitener, thank you so much, sir, for being with us today. We appreciate you taking time out of a busy convention schedule there in Chicago.
Terry Brock, it's always my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
And for those of you joining us, come back and see us again sometime. Bounce over and see Ashe's broadcast. You'll get a lot of benefit out of that, and I'll look forward to hearing from you. I'm Terry Brock at terrybrock.com, and go out there and make it a great day.